Welcome, ladies and gents. This is a continuation of the webinar series that my colleague Miss Mitchell has been doing with a range of different staff and an ex-pupil to talk about what we deliver here at RAS. I'm continuing this series to try and speak to some pupils about their experience in school and also to talk to some specialist staff who provide care for our pupils to make sure they have the best experience they can here at RAS. So as deputy, with oversight of pastoral care, it's my responsibility to work with all members of our community, not just the pupils, not just the staff, but the parents and sometimes even outside agencies, to ensure that we create an environment that is as positive as we could possibly have it. Without a positive, inclusive, caring community, our pupils will not flourish. So it's really important that we work as a team to ensure that we create that kind of environment and that the pupils here feel safe and supported to be as happy as they possibly can be. That is the sort of fundamental bedrock of my role as a pastoral leader within the school and the colleagues that I work with to deliver pastoral care. Now, I'm very lucky to be sitting here with Jasmine Thompson, who's one of our sixth formers, who's been prominently involved in a project that we've been running to achieve that kind of positive community that we want to have here. And she's done some fantastic work with some of her peers, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, specifically about the Anti-Bullying Ambassador Programme. First of all, I'd like to hear a little bit about Jazz and give us a little bit of a summary of your time at the school and what you've done here.
So this is going to be my 10th year here at RAA. I've been here since year 4. Started off in Wrexham, went over to Lizzie House and in Cornwall, so I've had quite an all-round experience of RAA. Received a lot of support, but also tried to give back to the community as well. And yeah, it's just been a great place to grow up.
It's quite a long chunk, it's quite a big chunk of your life that you've spent here at the school.
Definitely.
What kind of impact has that had on you, would you say?
Being a boarder, like full-time, definitely helped my interpersonal skills of like living with people, learning to be more accepting of others and their little habits and stuff. Like, it's just, you got to live with it. And I think it's genuinely prepared me for like my next steps in life, like going to university in terms of accommodation and stuff. So I think it's really like prepared me for that.
Fantastic. So let's get on to talking about our main topic of today, which is the Anti-Bullying Ambassador Programme. We're fortunate enough to go to that training, fantastic training.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the training and maybe first of all start off by saying what is an Anti-Bullying Ambassador?
So our anti-bullying committee is a group of pupils that are accessible and approachable to the entirety of the pupil body. The training that we received for the Diana Award programme, we spent the day in London being trained to become an anti-bullying ambassador. We were taught how to approach issues amongst our peers appropriately, as well as learning more in depth about the different types of bullying and also the ways that we can combat the issue within our school. I really think the day spent there genuinely gave us the confidence and the inspiration to be able to approach such a widespread issue in our school.
Yeah, I mean, we're quite fortunate that I don't have to deal with many cases of bullying, but in every school across the country there are going to be cases of unkindness that can teeter into bullying, and I think our school is not exempt from that. And that's what you recognise as a group of pupils who wanted to tackle those small number of cases that do emerge, and maybe the large number of cases where pupils aren't as kind to each other as they could be. But let's focus. You talked about the different types of bullying we might see. What were those categories?
So there's physical bullying,
Yes.
social bullying, cyberbullying, as well as
I think that captures most of them. Yeah. But I think what you're recalling is there's lots of different subsets of that. So one of the things that we're worried about as a school, and I'm sure some parents are worried about, is cyberbullying, because children are spending a lot more time online, doing online learning and communicating with their friends via social media platforms. What is cyberbullying?
Well, obviously bullying is a repeated action intended to cause harm, and this can then be categorised into cyberbullying when this occurs over a form of technology.
Yeah.
So this could include like mean messages and gossiping and rumours like over social media platforms, etc. I genuinely think this is a far bigger issue nowadays, just because the issue doesn't stop when you go home.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy for us to deal with physical bullying and social bullying within the school environment because hands-on with the pupils, whereas once they're at home, it's partly out of our control.
Yeah.
So, of course, this is when the parents come into it.
Yeah,
so it's quite important they understand what it is as well.
Absolutely, and I think that's, again, going back to one of the first statements, it's working together as a community, parents as well as the staff, as well as sometimes outside agencies, to work together to support our pupils and their children, the parents' children. So, one thing I'd just like to tap into is what's the difference between cyberbullying and unkindness that can happen? What tips it over from being unkindness to bullying?
So it's quite often they get mixed up because it can be quite easy to label like somebody being mean or gossiping as bullying immediately, but it's just the line in which it becomes repeated and the intention behind it from the perpetrator.
Yeah.
So it's when it's more persistent.
Fantastic, and there is a fine line, but I think you've summarised that really well. And cyberbullying, how can we, I'm a parent as well, what message would you give to parents about how they might, first of all, spot if their child is being cyberbullied?
Well, there are many different signs of that somebody could be being bullied, and of course it's different for every pupil, but different like extreme changes in mood and like personality and like maybe being a bit more withdrawn, and generally like avoiding kind of topics about certain issues like friendship groups, or maybe like avoiding certain people, certain phone calls that might be coming through that they could avoid. It can be more difficult, of course, to spot those being affected by cyberbullying, but as a parent, if I were to be a parent, then personally I'd try to help limit the screen time.
Yeah.
Not that I know it wouldn't make the people very happy, but encouraging them to like meet friends outside of the house or outside of school, because there's different social skills being able to text versus being able to actually communicate face to face.
Absolutely, and in circumstances that we're all faced with at the moment, where there is a limited amount of time they can go. I mean, there's more freedom now to meet people outside, but there's still quite a restriction on that. There are ways in which parents can use social media in a more positive way. So, what kind of conversations would you advise parents to have about still using social media, but trying to do so in a more positive way that protects their child from cyberbullying?
Well, of course, like if your child happens to open up about having faced issues about that, then of course like blocking people, making sure that the child is aware that these social media sites put in like facilities for you to be able to easily like report issues and take down users and combat that issue. It's just a case of being able to find that confidence. So if your child opens up, it's good to like appreciate how much bravery that takes. But in regards to using social media in a more positive way, it's all about the accounts you follow. Maybe try and monitor who they're actually following. Make sure you follow their accounts so you can look through their followers. It's just sometimes with social media, body image, things like that, if you follow a load of celebrities, it gives you this unrealistic, ideal life, which just, when you're 13 or 14 years old, you're not going to be there yet, and it's just not good for their development. So yeah, I just
that's good. And
do their following, really.
Yeah, that's some really, really good advice. Actually, things that I certainly will be thinking about with my daughter and supporting her as she starts to use social media more as she grows older. It's interesting you start to touch on the broader issues of the internet and social media. But if we that's a huge topic. Bringing it back to cyberbullying, you talked about how parents can use the sites and raise things and raise alarms. They can obviously come to the staff and speak to me or someone within the pastoral team, so the head of year, head of school, head of house, to seek some support and advice, and we can give that, and we can in many cases intervene and to take action with the parent. But what can they do to seek support from you? How can you support them?
Well, of course, our ambassadors are a variety of gender and year group, as well as boarding status, so they could be found in the boarding house as well as just around school. The thing that helps about that is even day pupils could access boarding pupils over social media once again, so they could quite easily channel us a message, or there's the stop@gatton.park email address in which it all comes into all of our inboxes, including yourself, so it's quite a monitored issue, but you can raise concerns over that email address. So
that was a lovely idea that Jasmine and Jason had, the two sort of leaders of our anti-bullying ambassador programme, set up stop@gatton-park.org.uk, which has been shared with the pupils and shared with parents, and that's a monitored email inbox that I keep an eye on. But the idea is that Jasmine and Jason will take the lead in receiving messages from pupils who may be a bit worried about unkindness, or if it is sort of branching into something more serious such as bullying, then they can get in touch and they'll get a response from Jasmine or Jason with support from me to make sure that they're getting the support they need to deal with that issue, and then we can see where that goes. There's lots of other sites that you can go to seek support as well, and we'll include some links to some of those sites. It's a project we've got a lot of passion for, and I'm really pleased to be working with such a vibrant, enthusiastic young person as Jasmine. One final question for you, Jasmine, is where do you see the future of this ambassador group going? What plans do you have for the future?
Well, starting straight from next year, the smaller things such as we intend to make allocated days for lunchtime drop-in sessions in which people can raise concerns face-to-face if an email is a bit too daunting, as well as we plan to conduct a pupil survey to get a true idea of the issue that we're actually combating. As well as that, something a bit more exciting, we're hoping to do a march throughout the school to try and raise awareness, as well as create a greater sense of community and unity, which will truly make people feel more secure and hopefully bring them together.
The march is something that makes me slightly more nervous, as I've shared, but I think the way in which you are planning to do that in the future, and obviously early stages of development for that event at the moment, but it's a really nice thing, and it branches out to more than just to bullying, and it's more about, as you say, that community, the inclusivity, something that's incredibly important at the moment, being raised in the media about all kinds of prejudice, racism, homophobic comments, a whole host of different ways in which people can try and make nasty comments based on differences. So it's going to hopefully start to tackle some of all those issues as well.
Yeah, and regarding sort of gender stereotypes as well, we want to do a swapped games afternoon to try and combat that and help pupil identity in terms of not these enforced social standards. They just limit, and it's just so we want to help go against that.
That's fantastic. So it really is a pleasure to work with you, Jasmine. I'm incredibly lucky to have such a great group of pupils who want to make a positive change. We're lucky that we're starting from a very good position with very few cases of bullying every year. I'm very proud of the fact that we have a very safe and inclusive community here, but we're not going to just stop there. We want to continue to improve that, and we want the school to be a place where everyone feels safe at any point in the day, and they know who to go and speak to if they have any worries. So we're quite excited to see where this project goes. Thank you, Jasmine.